At Vibra Finance, we seek out the hidden gems in cryptocurrency. We will tailor your portfolio to work for you. Are you ready to transition your investments from traditional markets to cryptocurrency? Are your coins staked and earning interest? Are you overwhelmed with all the jargon in crypto? Is your portfolio underperforming and you want to reposition into consistent winning blue chip coins and viable projects? Do you feel like you missed out on DeFi, Metaverse, and NFTs? Here at Vibra Finance, we provide you with the data, skills, and tools you need to stay on top of the digital asset market. Vibra Finance, we are the future of crypto.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Vibraville. Hope you had a great Sunday. And it's not very often we start to get big pumps on a Sunday. It usually happens kind of midweek. And to see all this excitement now, man, we could be in for some special times. And I saw earlier today that Trump signed trade deals officially with Europe. So they figured out all the tariff nonsense. Japan has a deal in place, so it looks like world trade will be back to normal. And I don't know, we'll see. And I'm not a TA guy, but I do know someone who is, and I used to watch him last cycle, all his videos, follow him, and now to be doing streams with him, it's incredible. It's super humbling. And my man Donovan, what is up, bro?
It's good to be on here, my friend. It's good to talk to everybody as well. See some people in the chat. Love the content. Been following for a little while. You got me the hat. So, honestly, I appreciate having these conversations because I feel like I always come on and learn something new. I feel like you're a little bit more into, well, see, that's the thing. I came over to PulseChain and then I met you here, but I feel like you're also looking a lot more outside of PulseChain, whereas most people over here just kind of, not that it's a bad thing, but most people just stay over here for the most part. So, I always appreciated your perspectives because you always had a little bit of a different viewpoint when you're looking at the market, how you look at value. So I appreciate you having me on. That's for sure.
Yeah, bro, definitely. It feels great now to see that PulseChain is actually getting a little bit of a pump, and people are definitely excited. I know I'm definitely excited to see it. We've been waiting so long, and I don't know what this countdown is that's going on. The 8 days with Liberty Swap and Richard talking about the mailers going out. So people are going to be holding something in their hands that has, who knows what's going to be on their Hex, PulseX, but it's exciting to see Richard back and not having to deal with nonsense cases and just bullshit.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, I think the whole market of PulseChain is going to blow up. Charts look good. Everything's just been consolidating forever, going sideways. But honestly, I think that the whole market's primed. ETH breaking out, that was really the confirmation that I was looking for. Once ETH started running, then we started to see the other stuff start running. And, PulseChain always ends up outperforming once it starts to move a little bit. It's just that we're just still kind of consolidating. But the second that this thing breaks out, I think it's just going to go up so quick in such a short period of time, considering, that's the way historically all of the altcoins have moved. And that's what always catches people by surprise. I screenshotted an NFT because NFTs were pumping today in the last couple of days. And I was looking at the chart and it had 3 years where it was just going down and kind of sideways and lower lows, lower highs. And in the matter of one day, just today, all of that was just completely gone by one big green candle from people buying. And I've seen it happen with altcoin charts, trading. This is my third cycle. So I've been watching these charts since the very beginning. And it's exciting because when I first got started, I was studying all of like the 2016 and 2017 charts. And it was those cycles that got me learning how to actually do all of this stuff. And when I look at the charts today, so many of them just look exactly the same as what a lot of those 2017 setups were. A lot of the same dynamics, except so much has changed from that point, almost 10 years ago to where we're at now. This time it's true adoption. Institutions are here. We're seeing the technology picking up and progressing in ways like 2017. Almost nothing really worked. You didn't have anything. Trading on chain just didn't exist. So, where we're at now, so much greater, so much more fun. And I think that, regardless of which chain, certain ones will obviously outperform, but I got a lot of confidence that PulseChain's one of those that's going to just really do well the second that all this new money kind of comes trickling in.
Yeah, bro. I think so too. I think PulseChain is just one of the ones out there. You got a founder who is very passionate, very wanting his credit and his respect and his glory in the industry, which he has not gotten. So like that, he's constantly got something to work forward to, the amount of money in the sacrifice wallet, and he's got a cult like following behind him. So everything is just set up so perfectly bullish. And you said it exactly right, that these cards are the NFTs, they were so suppressed for 3 years and they made it back all in one day. And that's like the cycle. Everything is so hyper suppressed. They look dead. But if you can identify the winners, the blue chips that actually had teams build it, because none of these projects really reflect their true value. I mean, the shit coins, yeah, okay, they're 99%, they should be, but actual blue chips and good fundamental projects that have a use case and a community still, and there's no reason they should be down this far, those are the ones that you need to be scooping up right now and holding on to, because it's just like Sologenics, just like ResearchCoin. We just got that listing on Coinbase, and I found that coin in May. Once I started looking into DeSci, I thought that was going to be a hot narrative. It definitely is now. It's really picking up. So I found Brian Armstrong founded a project where you can give grants through a DAO to different scientists and doctors who come up with new medicines and all kinds of stuff. So for like hair loss or kidney function, or like there's so many different things on there, and he's really passionate about it. And it was like, okay, he's got this project and you don't think this is going to get listed on Coinbase? And 2 days ago, it got announced that, oh, ResearchCoin is getting listed on Coinbase, and it doubled up instantly. So just getting into the good stuff early and just holding, that's the secret to crypto. Like there's nothing else you need to do if you can find the best projects and just hold. That's it.
Yeah. Well, that's the hard part, holding. I've got into so many good coins, like the very best of the best performing ones every single cycle. Doesn't matter. I'm confident this cycle I'm going to do the same thing. Who knows which ones those are? We all have our beliefs on what those are, but until everything starts running, you don't really know what's going to pump the hardest. But I've been able to be early to some of the very best returning assets on the entire market. And throughout this entire time, the hardest part is holding. Like I've always sold everything too early. That was always the issues was, you get into something that's going to do 1000x, but to hold something 1000x is you see, like your portfolio is this, and all of a sudden you're holding something and becomes more than your whole other portfolio combined. And then you start to like, the perspective of what that actually is different. So then you sell it. And that's just the way it goes. And it's not a bad thing to even sell it, really. It sucks watching it run really hard without you. But if you're confident, which I think a lot of it comes, ignorance is one. You're like a new guy getting into the market and you're like, nope, I'm holding forever. Because a lot of people do that. And like, in a lot of ways, it's almost better to be the new guy because you're just like more like willing to like do what people say. It's like, oh, just hold this cycle. All right, I'm just going to hold it. And all of a sudden you're the guy that makes the 1000x. But like for me, I've been in for a decade. The amount of stuff that I've held, and then, you watch it pump hard and then it goes all the way back down, sometimes to zero. The one I had this cycle, the worst one was I had 500K in it at one time. And then it went completely back down to zero. It's worth like absolutely nothing today. Yeah. So like stuff like that. And it's one thing to hold the entire thing. It's another thing to sell. You don't ever know when it's, the perfect time, but realistically, if you feel confident in the value proposition of something hitting 100x, then make that your target and then hold to it. But it's tough. It really is like one of the trickiest things to be able to time the market and then actually hold something that's going to become that great asset. Because a lot of the times when you buy something that's going to do 1000x, the time you buy it, it's like oftentimes looked at as a scam or like has like no long-term sight. So like you have to be completely sold into the idea if you're ever going to be able to get it.
Dude, that's where I kind of have been learning over the last couple of years how to relay that message to a dead chart, because that was my job this for the past 3 years, was to go onto Hedera, go onto Stellar, go across into the AI narrative, into the DeSci narrative, and find the best projects that were going to survive, that were building in the bear market, had stuff going on, but trying to get people to just not look at the chart and don't even worry about the chart. It's so irrelevant right now. It's just getting into the best projects that are going to be in the hot narratives. And so far, like some of these things have been running already. And like Dynex right here, we were just talking about in the green room. I didn't even realize this thing ran up to 10 cents almost today. And this thing, on the 17th, so a week ago, was under almost 2 cents, like 2.5 cents. So that's almost a 4x now. And we're at a $7 million market cap. And Dynex, if they can pull off any of this stuff with so what they do, guys, is they have quantum as a service. It's a language model that replaces ChatGPT. It's basically 100 times faster and better. It blows them away. So once it's in test mode right now, they put some tweets out today, but once they launch this model, if it catches on and once people start using it and realize how much better it is, people are just off ChatGPT and it's on to the next. And these things move so fast. But Dynex also has a chip that they're building, which is a quantum chip. And right now, the new one that IBM or Microsoft just made, it has to be stored at absolute zero, which is like minus 280 degrees or something. So the amount of energy it takes to have that facility to do this is nuts. Well, this chip is made of silicone and works at room temperature. So if this thing could take off, like, God, this thing could just do insane numbers. And these are the opportunities that I tell you guys about because there's so much upside. And when we found it at a couple cents, the downside is nothing. This thing was up at like 60 cents, I think, and dropped down to 2. And we found it right as it was bottoming. Yeah. So it was like the downside risk was nothing.
See, there's so many discounts out there too. That's the fun thing is most of the altcoins that actually do things, utility altcoins, almost none of them are even, like a lot of them are just at their very all-time lows consolidating. They might be, in between that range, but they're like 90% down, 85% down, like huge opportunities. If you like, the charts are always going to look wrecked at certain points. Some of the very best charts, or what I should say, assets that have performed really well, you go back and look at their charts and you can't really gauge at the beginning what's even going on because it's the beginning. But if you have like a prior cycle that you can look at and you can see how much it's down from those highs, the very best projects are going to be able to get that new adoption and they're going to just completely go into a brand new cycle. And you can't really, you can see something and see it being down 90% and it seems impossible that it would ever go back up. But you're going to see that happen just in the matter of a couple months. There's going to be big green candles that go straight up the chart. And if you're in anything that's actually going to see that type of upside, you can't really base everything based off of, what does this last cycle look like? Because once it starts running, they just have this unique way of just kind of blowing all of your wildest expectations out of the water every time. All of the best performing ones I've ever got into, it's always them outperforming to the biggest degree I never thought possible, and then me feeling like I'm taking too much profits along the way up because they just keep running. And that's the fun part because we have real institutions this time around. We have real people that are going to be putting money in, like actually adopting this stuff with the long term in mind. So this is the one especially that you want to make sure that you're holding on and allowing enough value to kind of transfer around so that you can realize some of this gain, because you don't want to be in the institution cycle and then sell too early before all of the real fun and upside sets in. So, a lot of us have been holding stuff for a long time, so it doesn't really matter if we're just going to keep holding it a little bit longer. I'm fine with it. It's just tricky trying to navigate it when all of the hype comes in, because things just start blowing up without you even knowing what to do.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's where I'm definitely, because I focus more on the utility stuff and projects that if you buy now and you hold and you come back in a year, 3 years, 5 years, they should still be doing really well because they're built to scale. They're built for the future. So, just to not ever sell out of your bag, like only sell say, okay, out of these projects, I'm only going to sell 60% or 70% this cycle and leave a third in case the cycle keeps going on longer than we think. Because I think, bro, people that were in the whole Solana meme coin, the degen phase, I think everyone got so wrecked. They're so traumatized now. They cannot wait to get out by like September because they think the market it's over after like October. And I think we're going to keep running into 2026. And I think those people are going to get left behind so hard because that's the consensus from retail is you better be out of this market by like October and December at the latest. And with everyone saying that, man, we're going to run until February, March easily.
Yeah. I mean, that's the tricky thing. Like where that top comes in is always so hard to kind of to know exactly. And that's the fun thing about the 4-year cycle. And that's like what I focus on in my investing. Like the one thing that varies is the tops, because you don't measure a cycle from the peaks of the cycle tops. You actually measure it through time based off of the bottoms. So everybody will draw a cycle going from the bottom until the top. And then they say, well, all of these were 3 years long. Exactly. So by default, the next one is going to do the same thing. And even though that has happened up to this point, like our cycles have been very consistent with topping at the end of the year, 3 years up from the bottom. With this cycle being institutionally driven, there is definitely a very real potential where it extends a little bit longer, like you're saying, and it catches people off guard for those reasons. Because technically, if you look at the time frames, if you draw it and you're analyzing it from the very bottom of the cycle to the top of the cycle, and you're looking at the peaks rather than just the bottoms, it comes out to basically October is when that trend is predicted to top for Bitcoin. So you're going to have people that are going to be selling in October, November. And I honestly have looked at this cycle being a little bit more, having a little bit more explosive growth in those sort of ways because of the fact we have so much more demand. And, we haven't really seen a lot of that demand kind of filter around a lot yet. And like we've got MicroStrategy's already created a little blueprint for how to make a little pull your company out of debt, pull your company out of the gutter, and just be able to issue more debt and take it on and then buy more Bitcoin with that going up. And then you just kind of repeat the cycle over. So MicroStrategy figured out how to create this perfect little way to accumulate more Bitcoin and to be able to also make their stock price go up. And I think we're going to see a lot happening a lot around Ethereum. So like we're only at the beginning stages of these institutions really starting to compete and actually experiencing a little bit of institutional FOMO. And that's something we've never had in any of the cycles. So like, I think that retail is going to happen a little bit later this cycle because, we were already breaking out in the last bull market. It was running like 6 months before this one did. So the idea of it just running a little bit later by default, I think is going to catch the most people off guard. But then I think it's because of all of the new money that's coming in here. It's just going to happen at a much greater scale than we've ever seen before. And things are bound to change.
Yeah, 100%. I think right now, a lot of that money is just sitting on the sidelines in stable coins or just starting to slowly enter the market because we got regulations last week. I think that was so big. And I wouldn't be surprised if this week we start getting some kind of announcements or some bullish news where we're not going to get taxed on capital gains for cryptos or something like that. I think something's going to set the market into a frenzy. And you just have to have your bet.
3 days.
Yep.
That we have a Fed meeting, I think.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right, bro. That would be huge if they did a surprise rate cut.
Supposedly that's because Trump just had the meeting with Jerome Powell. So maybe Jerome will finally cut the rates. Because if he did that, then oh man, it's a for sure just full send. I think we'd run to like 140, 150 pretty quick in Bitcoin terms.
Where do you think we're going to top?
Like 250 about.
Really?
Yeah, it could hit 300 maybe. It's so hard to like it's like the price for me is obsolete because it's like I don't know, like that's the most impossible thing to be able to predict. Nobody knows where that's going to peak. But one thing I do know is Bitcoin follows the exact time frames. So if I can map out the time frames, I can at least gauge where a relatively good time to take profits will be. And that's kind of my main focus, because I already know I'm not going to sell the top. That's just, I've never done it. Well, I mean, I've done it a few times, obviously, but like when you're talking about selling, like taking all of your money into something and then scaling it all out at the exact top, like you're not going to do that. That's just like, it's almost like a pipe dream. So,
Yeah.
when you get closer towards that end, if you have a blueprint where you can say, okay, I'm within like a 3 to 4 month range where I can scale out, and I'm pretty confident that that's going to be the top. In my opinion, that's the best way to do it, because the worst thing is just trying to get greedy, having this bias where you're like, I'm going to nail the exact top. Because if you build this bias in your head and the market does something that basically contradicts your bias, you no longer have a backup plan for how you're going to readjust to that. So then you just lock yourself in the negative portion of the cycle where you don't sell, where you're just holding, because now you're thinking, well, shit, this thing just went down 60%. I just lost 60% of my profits. So why I'm going to wait and hold until it goes back up, and then it just kind of keeps going lower. So I still think it's better just obviously getting out, when all of this hype comes in. But regardless of that, it's kind of I think that this cycle specifically has the ability to trick a lot of people because of the institutional money. We've never actually had real institutional money, actually trading against us at the same time. So there's a lot of variables that I think are going to be very fun and profitable for the most part.
Yeah, bro, 100%. Qubic, this is the project that I'm just, every day I look into it further and I find something that just blows my mind more and more and more. And like the founder, Come From Beyond, he's just so known from back in the early Bitcoin days. Like the one of the first 3 Genesis wallets that were ever created had CFB in them and 15 UBIC, and 15 in programming code is the letter Q. So one of the first 3 Bitcoin addresses had Qubic in it and BTC Next, which was a project he was working on after the Bitcoin started to have some problems. And he scrapped that and it went to like INX or something. But there's so much evidence pointing to he was involved in the early blocks of Bitcoin.
Wow.
And it's, as you hear that and you're like, wait a minute, like that can't be real. But this guy, the Great Crypto Escape is his handle. He's put out a whole thread about stuff that he's done, and sorry, the whole thread about why he thinks he is, some of the evidence there, and how he goes through the whole PayPal mafia and shows how these guys, it could not be them. There's no chance. So the fact that he is one of the main suspects for being Satoshi, it just gives that speculation. Like I could see people going nuts with that. And
well, they did the same thing with Sergey from Chainlink too. There's theories that he was Satoshi, and those type of narratives are what
he started it. This guy Survey Avanchenko is the one that was saying it. He started the rumor.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. So this one, bro, I would definitely take a look at Qubic, because when I started buying it a year ago, it was 5x higher the price. So it actually added a 0 from when I first started buying it. It dropped 90%. So we've been loading up, and it's only up maybe like maybe 150, 200% off the bottom. So it's still super cheap. And I really think it's going to be, it's going to be the bet. It's going to take over. Like he already just teased that he's got stuff coming that he's working on for NVIDIA and Hash AI. So
see, the AI, in my opinion, I've always, until this cycle started picking up and AI had its little mini run, we started to see certain projects kind of run a little bit in last year. that was when I was like really sold on the fact that I think the AI, so like in the last cycle we had DeFi. That was the big thing. That was like the big driver of value in the last cycle was DeFi. You had other narratives like Dogecoin ran because of Elon Musk. So then you did have meme coins that were running. NFTs were another thing that took off in the last cycle. But this cycle, for sure, without a doubt, it's going to be AI. That's going to be one of the highlighting narratives that you can follow because it's the perfect narrative since we're already seeing so many people throwing billions and billions of dollars at these AI companies, developers, trying to snipe their employees away to different companies and stuff by offering them gigantic amount of salary. So like the idea that that doesn't transition perfectly into crypto and we don't have a huge AI bull run over here, there's no way. Like these things are going to run really hard in my opinion. And there's a lot of them that are just so undervalued because nobody knows about them. You know, most people, they like know AI is going to be a big thing, but when they think of AI, like they think of like their kid that has shown them Chat GPT or something. They don't know of like the intricacies of what AI really is.
Yeah, bro. And like they have so much here. These are all the different things in the ecosystem, different dApps and stuff. Like they have a launch pad now that's launching projects. They have the new Qubic Capital, which you can buy those for, I think it was 400 million Qubic got you one of those shares. But one of those shares, they took all that Qubic and they're now mining it. So you now get a portion of the mining rewards from that block, from that chunk forever. And they have a lottery system here. They have like a bet thing where you can make bets and people can take them. Like they have so much that's coming. And I've just been around long enough to know what projects, like because when I find stuff like this, I send it to a lot of different people and people that are in this community that are in crypto a lot. Some people that aren't really in it, but they like looking at some new projects. And every single person I've sent this to was like, holy shit, I need to know more about this. Not one person was like, I don't know, bro. Well, I'll pass on that. Everybody was just astonished at this shit.
I mean, it really is. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me about it a while ago, but honestly, I think that they've done more with all of their website. You can tell that they've just added a lot more since I last looked at this.
Dude, and even the people that they've hired, like some of the smartest doctors and scientists and like PhDs in the world, they've brought on as ambassadors and to like be part of the team, bro. Like I was shocked at how just smart some of these people are. And you just see they're doing all the right stuff. And his previous projects were the number 1 and number 3 most profitable ICOs in crypto history. And now he's rumored to be the founder of Monero, which Qubic is now mining 51% of. And that's nonstop passive income forever for the network. And that's only a portion of the network that's mining 51% of Monero. So they can still train all the AGI models, decentralized, or the AGI models. And bro, it's just so cool to me. And yeah, just being early, it's frustrating when the chart looks so bad and people just like kind of look at it on the surface, but they don't spend like a half hour, an hour looking into it, and then they take a pass on it. It's just like, man, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, this is one of those things where the chart's never going to line up with the fundamentals. And that's the tricky part with investing based off fundamentals is it's a different sort of game. Like if you want to get the 1000x, I don't necessarily, unless there's a chart that like, you're not going to really see it in a chart very much. Like you can identify trends in a chart. You can identify certain things, but the likelihood of you picking 1000x coin based off of just looking at a chart, it's just kind of silly to think that. But, that's where you have to really know how to like understand what people are building and to have a little bit of a focal point inside of the actual technology that is being created. Because if you can do that, that's really where you're going to be able to like point out the value and really find or like pinpoint it to where you're going to be able to get those really good winners in the market. Because in my opinion, the only way to really find those, as much as I'm into charts, you got to be able to research into stuff, because the narratives are going to pick up. And when the narratives pick up, you're going to just see you're going to see all of the charts just erase all of those dips. And it doesn't matter how many years or how many months it was, like that when the market runs and you get a rotation, they just run. So if you're in anything that's going to be one of those that gets the adoption, that's the most important thing in my eyes. It's fun to play with memes. I still trade memes. I still have NFTs and stuff, but in my eyes, like the value of this cycle, if we're going to really see a lot of focus with institutions and real value, you're going to want to get into the stuff like the narratives that you think are going to be the hottest ones, like AI. For sure, AI. I don't have any sort of doubts with AI at all. We know that that's going to see an insane rotation this cycle, because the modern economies are already seeing it. So I'm excited to watch over the next couple months. I think we're going to see a lot of this new money coming into these type of projects, and people start looking outside of kind of the small-minded approach of just trying to make money off of meme coins and things like that. And now they're going to really start diving into the true utility plays, because we haven't had a real utility rotation yet this cycle. Everything's pretty like suppressed and sold off.
Yeah, dude, I think so too. I think real world assets are the other huge narrative this cycle too, and like payments or whatever, you lump them in. And Stronghold is one that we've been talking about forever. These guys are like part of the system, bro. They're tapped in with the ACH network. They had a blockchain and a stable coin they've built for IBM that they've been working on or with since 2018. Like God knows how many institutions and other corporations they built out the rails for. Like Stronghold is like the infrastructure that Stripe is going to like tap into, and Stripe owns 2% of Stellar's supply. So when you start putting all these things together, certain projects start becoming obvious. And the founders of the alleged founders came both from Ripple, and it's like Ripple came from the government. I've proven that and found documentation that it was started by the INSA, patents going back all the way to 1991. And they've done such a good job at trying to hide the early origins of it. And even the genesis, the first 3,200 blocks of the XRP ledger, you can't see them. They are gone. And that's because I heard it would show who Satoshi was and who's involved with this. And they didn't want that out. It would be obvious that Ripple is like the new financial system, and XRP is the backing for it. And like, there's going to be something, right? Like our current system is broken. We're going to something new. And I look at the biggest banks, the IMF, the BIS, that actually run stuff, and they're only working with 2 companies in the world. And that's Ripple and like R3 Corda and, maybe Quant in their overledger, or just random things here and there. But for the most part, it's almost obvious who the big winners are going to be in the future. But people just, they don't care. I don't know what it is, bro. It's hard to get through to people.
Well, if you don't see the value, you're just not gonna. There's nothing anybody can say. Because like I have friends that have been my good friends forever over the course of almost a whole decade that I've been in crypto, been making money, and it doesn't matter how much you try and tell them and how much you try and show them. Like if they don't see the value, they're just never gonna budge in any sort of way. And realistically, I think that a lot of it comes down to laziness. A lot of it's also PTSD. You get through a sell-off in the market, and it really discourages you from wanting to try and like look into new projects and buy into them. And then you start, following the emotional part of the cycle where you're just FOMOing in once you see the things start breaking out. So, it's hard, because you got to be willing to kind of like be looking at these times when everything's really low. And you got to know like which ones have those partnerships, which ones are actually being utilized by an institution on an institutional level. Because if you can find those, obviously those are going to be the ones that have the most like connections to get that adoption that's going to drive the price and sustain it long term,
Yeah, bro. And that's where some of these projects like Stronghold, like XRP, XLM, retail can only drive the prices of these assets so high. And for them to get to huge numbers, it's going to take the institutional money that comes into this market to actually, take them to high levels. And like, stronghold. Well, this is the chart going back to 2019. And, it's just, we did. All right. So we got the 3.5 cents in 2021 and then another huge dip. But, bro, this chart just looks so good.
Oh, it's about to break out. Oh, that looks great.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, if you want to start pulling some charts up, this is your thing. So maybe we'll look at XRP, some other stuff that you're looking at. I want to hear what's on your radar.
Yeah, let's do it. That chart looks really good, though. It looks like it's about to just go super parabolic.
Bro, the people are saying this thing's going to $2-3.
What's it worth? 2 cents?
2 cents right now. Like, Stronghold is the infrastructure for all peer-to-peer payments and like small B2B, not cross-border payments that the XRP ledger is going to be working on. Like, this is a different network for retail that MoneyGram's tapped into. And yeah, bro, it's a great fundamental project, a great blue chip and that's why I like these, because they are the polar opposite of the RH ecosystem. Like, that's real DeFi. That's taking assets, earning, becoming your own bank, using DeFi. Like, so no matter what happens over here, we're not going to be affected at all between what Stronghold and what these guys are building for the retail payments, for credit card processors, just to settle stuff instantly instead of having to wait days to clear. It should be instant. And it's just, it doesn't compete with each other. It's the perfect balance for a portfolio.
Right. I agree.
So yeah, if you want to share your screen here.
Pulling it up. So 3 days ago.
All these other cards are whack as fuck. Oh, clearly you don't have a clue what you're talking. It just shows the level you're at in crypto. Because if you had just sat in RH coins, you'd be wrecked. You would have been able to 10x your bag in these other coins, and then moved into the blue chips on PulseChain at the bottom. So that would have been the move.
Yeah. Realistically, most people would have made more money just holding Bitcoin. They would have made way more money had they have just held Bitcoin and then waited until now and then bought altcoins. Like, that's usually the way it goes. Most people get way too bought into different things, and then it just blinds them from being able. That's why, for me personally, I'm not a maximalist. I trade on all of the chains because I've been able to find opportunity on all of them. So it's like, why would I limit myself to one? Like, if I have a belief in it, I'll put some money into it. But I'm much more focused on actually being able to spread out, try different things, because I know that there's not one central place that's only going to receive value. There's going to be multiple areas that receive value, and some of them are going to be more than others. So it's better to spread out a little bit further than only focused on one, in my opinion. Each their own. People will win either way.
Yeah.
But I've been telling people, I've been looking at NFTs on the Bitcoin chain. So Node Monkeys were the ones that I bought. But then Bitcoin Puppets are another one. There's some other ones like Taproot Wizards and stuff, but they're worth like 30 grand. So obviously nobody's going to go buy any of those. But like, for example, Node Monkeys, these are the ones that 3 days ago I told everybody to go buy these, and they were worth, let's see, dollar value. They're worth 5 grand, and now they're worth 10 grand. And they've done all of this in 24 hours. But Bitcoin NFTs, these things were worth, $43,000 at the peak. In Bitcoin terms, that was 0.65 Bitcoin. But I mean, these are the first 10K collection of NFTs on Bitcoin chain. So here's the thing: CryptoPunks ran all the way to 112 Ethereum in the last cycle, and now they're making a big rebound. They're breaking all the way back out again. And so these things are going to go into a new cycle, but these were the first 10K collection on Ethereum. So that was the whole value proposition. They're the rarest, they're the first, all of that stuff. So Ethereum already has this thing going for it over here. And we're going to see this thing run in a huge way. And when that happens, everybody's going to be wondering what's the Bitcoin NFT, and now we have these, and they're called ordinals. They're not technically NFTs, they're ordinals. But that is what a Bitcoin NFT technically is. The picture and the token itself is inscribed into an individual Satoshi. So they take Satoshis and somehow they're able to inscribe the data for the collection inside of it. And that's how they store it on the Bitcoin chain. So now we finally have Bitcoin NFTs. And the fun thing about these is, they're worth 10 grand, but I'm telling you that these are the crypto punks of the Bitcoin chain. And I don't have any sort of doubts. That's why they're pumping harder than anything once the NFT rotation took place. So these things are still fairly close to their lows. I think we see a pullback and we come back down here probably to like 6K or so. And if that happens, I had an opportunity of buying crypto punks in the last cycle when they were worth 10 grand. And I thought that it was the dumbest thing ever. And I didn't do it. I own one now, but I bought it way higher and after the fact. So, where these things are all going to end up running to, these things hitting like $450,000 minimum. I honestly think that the node monkeys are going to be worth at least 1 Bitcoin as the floor price, but probably multiple Bitcoin at that. But there's other ones, Bitcoin puppets are probably the next one in line. And these give you guys airdrops on the Bitcoin chain for different projects and stuff. And they're only worth, half as much. So I think that for me, when it comes to NFTs, I own a CryptoPunk. I think that I bought one because I figured that if I bought a CryptoPunk, it would actually outperform Ethereum as Ethereum was going up in value at the same time. And so I wanted to basically hedge my long-term Ethereum that I was holding just sitting there. And I wanted to hedge it inside of a CryptoPunk because I figured I would actually make more Ethereum. I'm doing the same thing with the Node Monkey now. And I honestly think that the Bitcoin NFTs themselves are the best thing that you could buy for this cycle. And almost nobody knows about them and is talking about them. So that's kind of one big narrative that I've been watching lately. But then also,
I'll ask you a question. When do you think that those NFTs are gonna start to run after like Bitcoin tops off, and it's gonna be like where everyone kind of washes their money towards the end of the cycle, or do you think we're gonna see them pumping while Bitcoin's running up?
Both for sure. Like it's NFTs will generally run last because it's like you said, the wells are kind of rotating and they're a lot more of a risky type of like a risk on play. So the risk on stuff will always pump last. And then that's kind of the topping point. Like when the NFTs really run, it's a red flag. Mm-hmm. Like today we've had NFTs just pumping super hard. It's a red flag. Like we might see a market correction. But I look at charts. This is a meme coin. I don't even know why this is pulled up, but like it doesn't matter what you're looking at. I like to look at, some of the higher cap cryptos, the ones that, I already drew on this, but if I remove these coins like XRP and stuff, whether you invest into it or not is beside the point. What we're looking at here is just identifying how all of these are breaking out of their higher time frame structure. If you notice, this was the high of the last cycle, and we can see that we turned that resistance into support here. And every single monthly close on this chart was always above this level, always above it, every single time. Even this low wick that came back down, it always closed above the candle bodies on the monthly time frame. And then we ended up just getting the reversal. So we've broken out of our last high of the monthly close at $3, and we're starting to get continuation in this trend. But what's cool about this breakout is this is also the all-time high of the 2017 cycle. So technically we're still below resistance. We haven't broken it yet, but you could more or less count this as a breakout at this point. We have basically 4 days until the monthly closes. This is basically a breakout in my eyes. And, if XRP, one of the high cap cryptos, one that everybody said was a scam, everybody said this and that, if it's going to be running into price discovery, it shows to me that we're going to see those altcoins that didn't do anything in the last cycle from 2017, some of those older ones. I think that this cycle will have enough money going around that everything is going to have a rotation. And that's why I always say that it reminds me of 2017, because even if you look at, crap coins like Bitcoin Cash that completely do nothing, and they're just listed on a few different places. Like I think that Bitcoin Cash is on Robinhood.
Bro, it's on PayPal, it's on Robinhood, it's on every site as like the core 4 that they always first list.
Exactly. And there's like no reason for that. It doesn't like do anything.
No.
So see, that's what I mean though. But then you look at the chart and this thing's just been accumulating sideways forever and ever and ever. If we look at the very all-time low it made, it's maintained support, it's maintained higher highs, it's only uptrended the whole cycle, and we're currently in about almost 2,500 days just inside of this accumulation. So the fun thing about this isn't necessarily that it's not that I hold Bitcoin Cash or anything, but when I see dinosaur coins that do nothing and solve nothing, like they literally do nothing, but even these ones are showing strength, like they're just going to finally start skyrocketing like this. It gives me a lot of confidence in actually, finding the lower undervalued stuff, right? Like what are the big projects that are going to get a lot of dominance? They're going to take a lot of dominance, I should say, because if these crap coins that nobody cares about are going to do this type of stuff, then what are the legit projects going to do? And honestly, my favorite layer 1 this cycle is C Network. I've already drawn what I think is going to happen. We're really close to a breakout. So basically, if you look at this, we're on a weekly time frame. We have huge bullish divergence where the RSI maintained support, held a higher high, yet the price made a lower low. So that's a huge amount of bullish divergence right here. We're hugging this downtrending resistance that we've rejected on a couple different times. The second that this thing breaks and turns into support, that's where we're going to see this thing really start to blow up in a big way. But what's cool about this little cycle is it reminds me a lot of, so like in the last cycle, I bought Solana at 60 cents. I bought Terra Luna at 32 cents. And then I bought Phantom Network at like 8 cents. And a lot of those setups remind me of what C Network looks like today, where it's just had this first little run up and then correction back down. It's like, it kind of reminds me even like early day Ethereum. If we look over here in the early portion, that first,
it's always the coins that are not getting talked about or are being fudded that have a great looking chart, and the mainstream just fuds the hell out of them. I remember Matic last cycle when we first got into it at under a penny. Everyone was saying there's no need for Matic. You're not going to need it. It's such a stupid idea. Why do we even need Matic? We have Ethereum.
And just went vertical.
And look what happened. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So the ones like this that are getting fudded or not really talked about, they have the most upside.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's true. I mean, like Solana, when I bought that in the last cycle, it reminds me the most of what a lot of these newer layer 1s this cycle are doing, where they just had that first, they got listed, they got added to exchanges, they made that first run, and then they corrected back down. That's what all of these charts look like. They're all just repeating the same pattern. And the fun part is this is what's coming next, like the big run, right? Where everything goes into price discovery together. And I'm watching for this to happen next. We get this big run where everything's going to blow up. Then we get this midway correction. I think a lot of altcoins will go and get hit really hard, but then that's going to lead us into the real blow off top of the cycle. So basically this is just this little move down in here. So we'd still have this whole cycle to go. And I'm not saying it's going to do 1,000x or anything, but these things running into a big wave 3 is pretty on par with all of the other cycles that I've traded where they do that big washout, because it doesn't matter which cycle I've traded. In 2017, they did the same thing. If you traded in 2021, they did the same thing. I think they're going to do the same thing now. And what always happens is you have that first little run up, and when Bitcoin goes into price discovery and fully goes into new all-time highs, that's where the big wave kind of runs in. And shortly after that, you go through this midway correction. And then after that, that kind of leads you to the final run of the entire cycle before it kind of tops. So I'm going to be watching for something like this. Obviously, it can differ and there can be variables. It doesn't have to always follow exactly the same. But where I think that all of these end up from here are so much higher. And, C Network, the value of being early to layer 1s is always the fact that when you get into the layer 1, you can actually trade the meme coins that are over there, the good projects that are building. What's the DEX? What's this? What that? And you can be in early to these specific plays right before the whole market takes off. And that's where I've made most of my money this cycle, is actually just being early to certain chains and then just trading some of the stuff that I see on those, whether it's a meme coin or whether it's a legit project. Up to this point, I've made more money off of trading meme coins than the legit ones. So I've just been focusing on that, like trying to be early to chains, getting in once you're over there. Like I bought some altcoins on the XRP ledger. I bought like 5 of those over there. So I think that that's really where a lot of opportunity comes, is understanding the big picture and how much higher that we have to go, seeing the big 2017 altcoins that are dinosaur coins that solved nothing, getting ready to make big new cycles. So if there's that much money to go around in all of these, you know, there's buying into some of the lower market cap stuff that's more undervalued, sub 50 million, sub 100 million. Those are going to be some that provide those huge 1000x type of gains.
Yep, 100%, bro. I completely agree. What do you think about Hex?
Yeah, let's go pull up these.
Yeah, because the Hex chart is starting to look bullish, and I think there was a whale who dumped 200 million, and I think we are right back to where we were at before he dumped. So I don't know what these people are thinking.
Oh yeah. It's just following this breakout. I mean, basically all this is, we get added to exchanges and we make the listing pump. This entire thing is just one big corrective wave. So this thing that we were in over in this period is all just one big corrective cycle. And it wasn't until September of 2024 that we finally started a real bullish uptrend. And this is our first Elliott wave cycle. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C back down. And then we broke out of that downtrending resistance, retested it. And even though it mostly fully retraced this, it's still holding a higher high. So oftentimes inside of your wave 1 impulse, it's going to like fully retrace that move. But what's fun is this is this Elliott wave impulse that just starts the trend. Like this is just the first one, and that's why it's small. But what comes next is wave 3. So if you look at fib targets, you'd basically be targeting, it has to go to at least the 1618 to even be a wave 3. So it's going to go to at least here. But oftentimes the wave 3 can go all the way up to the 2618. If it's really parabolic, it can actually just go further than all of these targets. And so for me, holding Hex, I'm not looking to sell it when it breaks out. I just hold it from here. There's no point. But right now, what I'm just trying to help you guys visualize is the fact that this was a wave 1. We're getting ready for a wave 3 that's going to come. I wouldn't be surprised if wave 3 takes us all the way to 10 cents on this next move. We'd have a little bit of a correction back down, but then it's still going to go a lot higher from there. And, you know, this wave 3 could go way higher than that. Wave 3 could magically just shoot straight up to like 30 or 50 cents. Wave 3s are the biggest, the most impulsive, the most volume comes into them. So, you know, they can go up really, really high. And with crypto especially, there's a lot of factors. You know, just because there's a fib target that has a relationship with Elliott waves doesn't mean that the crypto markets are just going to perfectly obey that. Specifically coins like Hex and PulseChain that are known to just pump really hard because there's not very much supply to go around. It doesn't take very much liquidity. So
yeah, they have low liquidity too, bro. Richard's been ganking the liquidity like crazy to set it up for exactly this. And
exactly. So that's why I say, like, I can show you what the chart's doing, but the best thing to do with these is just to hold them because they're going to run really hard, in my opinion. You know,
bro, dude, that's so true, bro. And that's what I try to get to, like, just show people that there's no secret. There's no, like, I'm here every day, 8 hours a day, listening to streams, absorbing content, just obsessed with this market. And there's no secret strategy. It's literally finding the best projects, buying them early, and holding. That's it. And really like, there's no money in telling, like, you know, telling people that. Like, guys, there really isn't. Like, I'm not here to sell you anything. Like, I want you to win. And like that really is all you have to do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is what I always like to remind people of. This was what XRP's chart looked like prior to the 2017 bull run. And I always like to remind people this, because anytime I've bought into an altcoin that just runs extremely hard and ends up outperforming the majority of the cycle, like when they run, they do this type of stuff. So like when it starts to go super parabolic, you don't have a reference point anymore. It's like hard to know when to sell because it just keeps running. And so this is what is going to happen. All of these, this is the chart of PulseX, but PulseX's chart looks exactly the same as XRP does to me. It's just repeating the same sort of fractal. And we just went through the same type of accumulation. And I believe that we're just kind of inside of this slow, drawn out process where it's not really doing anything. And the second that this resistance breaks out, becomes support, I really do believe that we're in for this type of a rally. Like, that's why I say, don't try and, map out where the top is going to get, because it's going to go really parabolic. And I don't think that you're going to be able to perfectly predict that. It becomes impossible to predict that type of stuff. So, you're either holding to a 50x or you're holding to a 100x, or you're going to sell it, this amount of money in your portfolio, whatever that strategy is for you. Just be aware that like, this really is the type of stuff that I'm anticipating is going to come. Like, it's going to be really crazy.
And that's where, guys, it's so important to, if say that wasn't PulseX, which a majority I'm sure of you are holding, say it was, I don't know, whatever X coin, and you're holding a couple coins and they haven't done that, and everyone's talking about this coin, look how hard it's pumping. Do not sell your coin that hasn't pumped and FOMO into something that's going parabolic like that. I did it so much last cycle and I lost. So I had Decentraland and Sandbox in 2019 early, bro, at on like a penny or under a penny. And I had like 30, 50,000 coins. It was nothing, but it was under $100 at each coin. And other stuff started moving. And I went to the websites and looked at them and thought, who the hell would ever use this? This is the clunkiest garbage I've ever seen. And I sold them. And if I had just said, you know what, it's $200, if it goes to zero, whatever, that would have turned into $100,000. And it's like, if you find something early and there was a reason you bought it, it caught your eye, whatever that reason is, there's something there most likely, and just hold it and let the pump come to you. Don't sell it just because it hasn't moved yet, because something else is. That's the biggest mistake I made last cycle.
Yeah, no, I feel you, dude. I put $500 in Decentraland, and at the top of, because I bought it early 2019 as well. I put $500 in Decentraland, and at the peak of the last cycle, it was worth $100,000. That position was. That was one I did hold, because I only put $500 in. To me, it was like, I only put $500. I'm going to just see what this turns into. And I'm still holding that position. It's not worth nearly that, but if it just goes back up to the all-time high, that position's worth $100,000 again. And it's like, that's, like it really is like their metaverse sucks. It's just the fact that they're like the first one. So you get that narrative. I remember people got excited about, it was because of NFTs. People started getting excited about crypto gaming, and the metaverse became that big talking point because the other side from BASE, they launched they funded all of that money into their VR metaverse too. And that's how the narratives pick up. Like, it really is just a matter of all of a sudden some people start seeing rotations happening in a certain coin, and then everybody goes and starts finding like similarly related tokens in the narrative or the niche or whatever you want to call it. And then it's just like clockwork. They all just start running and pumping. And if you're somebody that wasn't there doing the due diligence beforehand, you just miss out on it when it starts to run. Or you FOMO by the top.
Yeah, exactly, bro. And that's where, like, I'm at the point this cycle where I haven't, I got into the new Pulsium ecosystem. I got the airdrop because I held PRS, and then I bought a couple of the other ones, but because it's a new cool ecosystem. But right now, all my bags are packed. Like, I'm just sitting and waiting. Like, there is nothing else to do. You should be at that point where you're waiting for the pump to come to you. There's nothing else to do. You put the work in, you built the best bags, and now you wait and see what happens, how it plays out.
Yeah, it's true. I'm
So
excited.
any other things you're looking at that you think are flying under the radar, stuff no one's really heard of?
I don't know.
It's all good.
I can't
Like
think of
Moby.
anything off the top of my head, honestly.
Yeah, because I've been into some of the meta stuff, the XRP memes. But
Yeah,
PulseChain's where it's at, bro, honestly, right now. Besides some of these AI plays that I'm looking at and some a couple DeSci projects on base, a couple agents, like I think PulseChain is gonna just melt faces, bro.
yeah,
There's no community else, there's no community like it anywhere else in crypto.
yeah. No, for sure. I bought this one coin the other day, actually. My favorite Richard Hart token is Inc. And I always get crap for it. Everybody makes fun of me for liking Inc over the other ones. But like I really think that this thing's gonna surprise people and pump super hard. Like it's
It
just
has
kind of
to.
it's my dark horse candidate. It could just be the thing that outperforms all of the other ones. So
It
it's my
has
biggest
to.
position.
If Richard's the smartest person, the more ink, the higher price ink is, the more APY those farms are going to be, the more people are going to come in over here.
Right.
And like the whole ecosystem goes crazy when ink
Yeah,
goes up high in price. It just incentivizes everyone to do more.
exactly. So that, and what's beautiful with that is because the farms will be paying higher, it obviously has the incentive to provide more liquidity, which the people that are going to be providing liquidity are going to be providing the liquidity for the early people that believed so that we can take profits. So it's well, I mean, obviously, whatever. That's just the way it works. If you're going to make profit, you got to sell on somebody. But like it is kind of like it's nice for the people that have been here because yeah, like that's going to look real enticing to provide liquidity on these dexes, and I'm going to use that liquidity to sell. So it's like we'll have a lot of liquidity at the top, and we don't have much liquidity now, which is good because it's going to make the price go up quickly. But then when the price goes up quickly, the farms pay higher. It incentivizes people to provide that liquidity. So then when they provide that liquidity at the top, we can take our profits and not have massive slippage. But this token is so SolidX is the number one liquidity pool with Inc. And this one I'm pretty sure is number 2. It's one of the top rank. It has there's a ton more value inside of this. I don't know what exactly the total value is in the liquidity pool anymore because it's pumped since I first talked about this. But this thing shares a ton of liquidity with Inc. And when I first posted it on YouTube and on Twitter, it was just right over in here consolidating. And I reminded me a lot of some of these early meme coin charts that I've been watching when they start to run. And it pretty much just perfectly started running like I anticipated it would. But when I look at this thing has a ton more upside. And when you calculate the math with it, with how much liquidity is shared, or at least was shared with this thing back then, if Inc were to just go back up to its prior all-time high, which is 40x away from right now, that's like 200x for that token just because it's bonded in liquidity with it. So that's like I've told people multiple times over, the Richard Hart ecosystem is designed to make money because of how the liquidity bonding works. So it doesn't matter what you're trading, it's going to rip super hard. And just having tokens that are bonded with each other, like just that in and of itself is enough to send the token prices up extraordinarily high amounts. So I'm excited for it because I think that it's the most slept on ecosystem in all of crypto, hands down.
Have you seen that anywhere else? Like this, the way that the
No,
stuff is bonded in PulseChain like this and any
never.
other
Dude,
ecosystems?
I've literally never even talked to other people on chains that even understand liquidity bonding, or liquidity giving at all. Like it's a foreign concept to 99% of people, yet the people on PulseChain have a very deep understanding of how it works over here because Richard Hart explained it. And that's when I first came over to PulseChain, I was still under the beliefs that it was scammy, and I sacrificed for PulseChain. So but I did it because I had an ex-girlfriend at the time that was pestering me over it multiple times a day. So I finally just did it. And I still believe that Richard Hart was a scammer. Like, I really thought that like he was just some idiot that was just taking money and stuff. And then I came back over in the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, because I remembered I had money over here, and I started looking at the charts and I saw that they looked really good and they were going to pump. And then that was the beginning of 2024 when we had that big run. And so when I came over here, I like people started to talk about like Richard Hart and like liquidity giving and Hart's Law and stuff. And I thought it was kind of like, I thought it was like a joke that the guy had coined like Hart's Law after himself.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
He's just such a clown in that way sometimes.
He's such an egotistical maniac.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't like him. But then when I was able to look past that and just see like what is actually here and look at it for what it is, aside from him acting like an idiot sometimes, like this ecosystem in the community here is way more advanced. Like there really is. It's super, super unique. As much as I get bothered by Richard Hart, as much as everybody else does, you know, like what he has created over here was designed to make people money. And I think the reason why so many people overlook it is because it's the same kind of philosophy when I was investing into XRP. My lowest entry for XRP was 16 cents. I put a Bitcoin in it at the bottom of the COVID dip. And like, it's up 20x from that price right now. So XRP was the most hated thing. Everybody said I was such an idiot for buying it. It was a scam. It was never going to do this. And it's one of the very best performing assets today. Once people realize like, hey, you like these people were just following, you know, like beliefs and biases, whereas some people are actually looking into the value. And I've honestly viewed the PulseChain ecosystem exactly the same as XRP, where it's hated. Everybody talks crap on Richard Hart, says he's a scammer, but then you look into the details and you realize it's not true. And for those reasons, I mean, you know, PulseChain itself was just designed to do well because of the liquidity bonding and stuff. So for those reasons, I think PulseChain is more designed to make you profit than any other thing out there.
Yep. So can you you know the Titan X ecosystem?
Yeah.
So we launched Morpheus over there, and if you want to pull up that chart real quick, bro, there's been some really interesting stuff that's going on with Morph. And so we back in like January, we started. So the main, if you click the pairing against Dragon X up there, not in USD, tell me if you've ever seen a chart like this.
Oh yeah, consistent.
So there's somebody is running a bot on Morpheus to keep the ratio from against Dragon X from breaking out. So right in at the end of January or December there, I was on Twitter talking about the ratio of Morpheus to Dragon X is going to go to 1-to-1. We've already done an 8x against it. We're going to just crush more Dragon X moving forward. And then all of a sudden, bro, look at this. There's been bots that have been put on this chart to keep it range bound. And there's been some diving into the wallets that are doing it, and they're multi-million dollars in these wallets. And like, what's the point of doing this? It's clearly someone that doesn't want that ratio to keep breaking out. So it just makes me so incredibly bullish that the longer it does that, the harder it's going to pump up against it.
Yeah. Once the moment or once it's finally broken out.
Yeah. And it's just, it sucks for us right now because we're just range bound. And the only way out of this is to nuke the chart and then rebuy it up real quick and get them out of that position. But that's just so risky to do. It's such a bad look. But man, it's really frustrating. But bro, this is a sleeper right here, Morpheus. So there's an aggregator out there, Switch.win. So instead of using Uniswap on ETH or Base, Switch.win will get you the cheapest prices, the best route out there. They use CowSwap, other aggregators, and a portion of the fees get set aside, and they hopefully in the future will be used to kind of build up the ecosystem to where hopefully there can be our own decentralized liquidity pools and everything on our own websites and decks and stuff, to where we're not on Uniswap or having to do liquidity pools on there. We could do everything on our own platform. And that's where this is going to hopefully go in the future. So, Brent Rags to Riches, the company that built this, like, they are the real deal, and the right people are behind this one, bro. And I'm super excited to be a part of it and to watch Switch really grow and just keep doing more and more and more, or bigger and bigger and bigger numbers every month.
Yeah, word. I'm super bullish on Dynex and that whole ecosystem. I'm really confident that the whole thing is going to blow up. That's another one of those ecosystems that's designed to pump super hard.
Bro, if you just go to the website for Dynex and Dragon X and just look at the amount of ETH in the buy and burns, if ETH doubles up from here, it's like $60 million. There's 4,400 ETH in that wallet. So at 8K, it's like, oh my God.
Where do you see it?
Dynex. No, it's app.dynex.win. I don't know if that's where you are. And then up top, there should be the buying, the stats for the buy and burn. If you go to the homepage, that's the amount that's burned. But there's the buy and burn. If you scroll up a little bit on the top there, where you go to, go to home.
No, that's where I was.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. Then supply stats. Is that where you are now? Or go to more. Sorry, that more tab at the end. That's where it is. And then the buy and burn. There you go. So go to V1. There we go. So look at that. Right now there's $17 million in here. So if ETH doubles in price, that's $35 million bucks. That's going to be used to buy and burn Dynex, and 56% of the supply is already gone.
And the price is like clear. Where is it? There we are. This is why I told people to buy this. If it goes back up,
bro, dude, they've been waiting to use the buy and burns until ETH makes a new all-time high. So think about that. How much $17 million in buy and burn that's coming for this.
340x to the all-time high.
Bro, it's going to be crazy.
See, this is when I say that sometimes you can look at a chart and gauge if it could, like how much you could make. The only way is if it has a prior cycle, and the only thing that you can gauge is the price range from where you're at to the all-time high. So 340x. This is one of those that if it did go back to its prior all-time high, you'd be like filthy rich.
Bro, I don't know how it can't, the way it's set up. With the amount that is burnt and all the other projects that are built underneath it that are burning Dynex every single day. He has a project X28 that all it is constant arbitrage and bots going between the pairs and arbing them. And there's a tax on there. And it's buying and burning hundreds of millions of Dynex every single day.
Wow.
So it's never going to stop.
That's crazy.
It is, bro. I'm super excited to see where this goes. Once they start turning those buy and burns on, it's going to create a frenzy. Everyone's going to be back on social media going crazy, bull posting, and it's going to be crazy, bro. I just know.
I'm ready for it, man. I have a lot of confidence this is going to be the most fun cycle that I've been a part of. As far as just pure euphoria and bullish markets, everything is so primed this time around. I'm super confident that this is going to be the big one.
It is, bro. And then we take our profits and we get our homesteads, compounds, whatever, farms, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And that take it to the next level.
I want a big old ranch. I'm going to do everything on it away from everyone. Just by myself and my family and people that I can trust. Because honestly, I just want money so I can just go be a hermit. That's about it. Live in the tree.
I literally just want to be a farmer. That's it.
It's simple, really. I always thought that growing up, I didn't want to be a farmer. That was for the birds, and then I got older and realized that that's all I really want to do is just farm. That's all anybody does where I come from. So it was almost like, oh man, I don't want to be a farmer. I want to be somebody. And now I'm like, nope, I don't want any of that. I just want to go be a farmer and be off social media.
Dude, I'm 100% with you, and that it's gonna happen, bro. Manifestation is real, and I've been talking about this for 4 years now, and I would have had it last cycle if I didn't get convinced to lock up all my hex for 555, not all for 5555, but I made my ladders for 15 years, so that hex was $1 million at the top liquid, and unfortunately I had like $80 that liquid, so I watched that go up and all the way back down. But I just have a feeling in the long term that's going to pay out. But you learn your lessons, you make all the mistakes in your first cycle, and then the next bear market you learn and you start buying the best assets down at the bottom, and then you just hold them, and next thing you know, you look like a genius.
It really is that simple, though. The last cycle was tricky because you bought into stuff and then we didn't have as big of a bull run. So it was like stuff like XRP just kind of went sideways. XLM, they didn't really make like a big cycle, which is why I think that's all just built up pressure for this cycle. Like we're going to see all of that finally lift off, and it's going to be actually crazy. I mean, every cycle is life changing, but this one's the most life changing, the most opportunity filled cycle that we're going to have. So, you pretty much just got to leave it all out there this time and don't lock up all of your money. That's the worst thing. I always tell people not to do that. And if you're going to put it in stuff that earn interest, just make sure you can like pull it out in a timely manner. And even then, man, for a lot of stuff, I don't want to risk it being on these platforms. I don't want to risk it being over in these places unless I fully can trust it. So for me, it's like, just hold that stuff. Wait till it goes up in value and cash out, and you'll be good. Because
that's where, like with XRP and XLM, bro, they were built to replace the breaking system as the collateral, as the trusted settlement layer that they need. They need a trusted intermediary. You can't. Every bank having a stable coin doesn't solve the problem. So, and people don't understand that. And XRP and XLM, all this technology, bro, was ready in 2020, 2021. They just been stalling it and holding it back. I think the banks have been pushing against it, and they're waiting to roll it out at the right time. But this stuff's been ready for years. And I think the lawsuit was a giant public distraction, a publicity stunt to make it look like it was actually, go happening. But behind the scenes, bro, it's a complete different story. I see how the stuff has been laid, what projects are going to be the winners that are going to be used. And it's a giant deception out there. And people are going to be shocked to see where these prices go. And these dinosaur dead coins are the ones that actually survive. And it really, I think, is going to be the American cryptos. HBAR, Stellar, XRP, Cardano, Chainlink, Flare, a couple other ones. And that's the AI stuff. I think Qubic will do great, but no one knows. AI is all speculation right now. It's going to be a huge bubble, I think. And I don't know whether all the stuff Michael Saylor's doing with all these leverage products on his Bitcoin and just consistently more and more leverage, like that's what's going to blow up. I feel like either one of the ETH guys or someone's going to go crazy, and the leverage is going to end the cycle at some point. But
yeah. Well, what happens if MicroStrategy has to finally start selling Bitcoin? Because that almost happened already when Bitcoin was correcting and it was pulling back onto its prior all-time highs after it just broke out. Michael Saylor was like, hey, if it goes down up to this price, then we're going to maybe have to start selling some because we're going to have to, pay off this debt. And if that would have happened, that's kind of where the debt bubble pops, because that was what was propping up the price for so long. So if you're talking about that happening on like you're going to see institutions and companies completely go bankrupt from buying the top, FOMO buying at the wrong time. And you're going to see that, that deleveraging that takes place from them all getting liquidated on the way back down. And that's, like Terra Luna, that was really what drug the bulk of our bear market into fruition, was when that collapsed, that giant Ponzi. And that's kind of the way it works, is when the cracks start to show, you realize a lot of the value that's built up over the course of a bull run is just fake. It's not real. It's just like hype. And we've seen all these stuff crash 90+%. It happens every time. Like, you don't want to be the guy that's trying to hold through all of that, especially this cycle. Like, I think the bear market that follows is going to be really gnarly. And, there's going to be assets that still survive and go long term. But for me, I'm cashing out, and I'm probably just going to go buy into Bitcoin and just play it safe. Because if I can just do that, then I'm not as confident in all of this hype, these typical 4-year parabolic cycles every 4 years. I think there will be a shifting point in all of that, and it should come relatively soon, especially with this being so institutionally driven. It seems like this could be the biggest cycle and like the real, like, euphoric one. So I'm not trying to hold, I'm trying to take all my profits and, maybe keep a little chunk in there just in case, but I'm trying to take all my profits and really like move elsewhere and kind of try and like diversify my portfolio into completely new asset classes, and not give up on crypto at all, but just there's a lot of opportunities. And like, for me, one of the biggest opportunities is uranium, because we're going to move towards uranium. The more that we're adopting AI, it's just a matter of time. And in my opinion, uranium is the next big energy boom that we're going to have. So I'm trying to invest into mines. I'm trying to invest into companies. I'm trying to do this type of stuff, maybe build my own. I don't know if I have enough money. I'd love to, but I'm trying to get into completely new things. Like AI is the big thing that I think is going to be very valuable. So tapping into anything that's going to be like I said, uranium, it's going to be utilized by AI to power all this stuff. So we're going to see a significant amount of value throughout the market, and you can't get your sights too focused in on one group. Because if you can, if you could make a couple $1,000,000 and you could earn 10% off of $1 million, there's $100K a year. I can easily live off of that. So when you start getting into these valuations in your portfolio, it's easy to get greedy and think it's going to infinitely go up forever. But man, if you can lock up that type of profit, even less than $1 million, it still goes a long way. You don't have to be a millionaire, but if you're sitting on that type of money, just take your profits, because what you can do with that long term, and you're still going to have time to go into crypto. There's still plenty of opportunity there, but you're better off just locking stuff up, because this
pull 80% and leave 20 worst case.
Yeah, there you go. That's the best strategy. Just keep it simple.
Yeah, bro. I think too. Like, I don't think Bitcoin's going to be number one in 2 years, bro. Like, we're just always so used to it being number one. But I feel like there's something going on with Tether there that's keeping it propped up. Something's not right. And what happens when XRP or Tau goes on a crazy run or something and it passes Bitcoin, and now Bitcoin's number 2, and now it's digital silver? Is it now that number 1 store value that everyone wants, or is it, oh shit, could something else pass it now, and now it's digital bronze? So as soon as one thing passes Bitcoin, it loses all that number 1, it's the best. It can, like, that just evaporates. Now it's a race to the bottom. So I just really worry about that once something passes Bitcoin, is it now that greatest store value ever, or is it actually kind of?
Didn't XRP? What did XRP hit in 2017? Because it was really close to the same.
I don't think it ever passed it, but if something did, I think that just changes the entire view of Bitcoin, of this digital gold store of value. Well, then it goes down to number 10 in 4 years, and now all of a sudden it's just like this worthless coin that just kind of sits there while all this other tech is out there, and these AI agents and algorithms took all your crypto that you have, and they're now putting it to work out there and making yield for you. Like, why the hell would you sit in Bitcoin? Like, I just don't think that's the future, bro. So I think this is it for Bitcoin. This is its last cycle. I think once the XRP ETFs come out and BlackRock puts their hat in the ring, I think you're going to see a huge migration out of Bitcoin into the American cryptos, because Bitcoin's not going to be an American crypto, and that's going to be a big problem.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I honestly don't know if anything will surpass Bitcoin. I really don't. And I think it's because it was designed to be the number one, because I think the NSA created Bitcoin. So like Bitcoin to me is just a psyop to control the money supply, which is why it was in the 2018 bear market. I was only in crypto for 2 years at this point, because I got in early 2016. But I remember in the 2018 bear market, I started to kind of question Bitcoin a little bit. And I was like, why do we not know who created it? That just seems like so fishy.
It's the perfect, it's too good of a story. Yeah. It's way too good. And if it came out where, oh yeah, that Bitcoin thing, it came from the government or came from the CIA, people would stay far away if they never would have touched it. But the fact that it was this anonymous person with the, idea to change the world with this peer-to-peer currency, like every other person that came out with something like that got assassinated. So how did this guy get put on a pedestal?
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, if you look at the patents for Bitcoin, the SHA-256, like it was the NSA that patented all that stuff in the 90s. So
David Schwartz wrote a paper in 1984, 1988 about this stuff. Before any of that, David Schwartz was like the first person to ever publish a paper on it was either blockchain or just like blockchain and digital assets, one of the two, but you can look it up, bro. It's fascinating. Like he was contracted with the NSA back in the day.
I believe
now he's the XRPL CEO. It's like,
yeah, I mean, that's it, for me. It's that's the reason why I think like Bitcoin is there to stay. Like I look at that as kind of like the new world order's monetary, the new way that they can kind of run things. And so, like it's going to be interesting to hear the question of, are they going to have to do something with Bitcoin where they fork it again to like cut out the Satoshi coins, and like, because like that to me is the big thing that's going to be the issue, because now we have institutions involved. So like, just if his coins moved once, like it would be such a negative thing. Like people would start panic selling. Like it would be a bad thing. So I don't know if institutions are going to want to. I think maybe they'll just accumulate enough Bitcoin to where they can just kind of pass the, like they can fork it and then cut out Satoshi from the thing, and then it doesn't matter.
That,
who knows?
I don't even think that's the biggest problem, bro. I think the biggest problem comes in 2-3 years when you have quantum computing that comes out and can mine the rest of the Bitcoin in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden now you're back to the same debate with the hash wars with Bitcoin Cash. Or we have to fork this. What are we going to do? Mm-hmm. And it's just it's a never ending problem, where I look at like Hedera, where they have built their hash graph technology to scale endlessly. When quantum comes, it will actually help them out and take it to the next level. Algorand has built quantum resistance, so when it comes out, like it's not going to affect them. There's blockchains out here that have already thought about this stuff and built for it. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, with Bitcoin, like right there, Satoshi's coins, the origins of where it came from, once that comes out, and quantum, you have 3 huge problems right there in the next 3-5 years. So I just don't see how it's this gold. I really think it's like the first, it was the one, I think it was originally called the battle test coin, and it was released by the government, and it was a great way to see if we can get everyone believing there's this new, online currency that is away from the government. And then you push the whole narrative of cash is trash and inflation and dollars going to zero. It was just the perfect timing after 2008 when everything collapsed.
Yeah.
Well,
I know everything about it was too perfect. It was all, but that's what I mean. Like because it was so perfect, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And I think that in some way they'll just keep adding to Bitcoin. Basically, they'll like it's kind of like set in stone what it is, but they can keep doing these things. They can keep adding these layers. Like they added the Lightning Network, then they added, now they have ordinals and stuff. So in the same ways, I honestly think that it's just going to keep growing from here, and it'll be almost like an onion where it just has multiple layers over the top of it to get it to be able to. Because you're right. In theory, if any of those things happened, it is like it's a huge detriment. But my question is, will they just be able to add a layer over the top of it that does actually keep it from, having issues? Because for me, it's like the government definitely created.
So if they did that layer on top of it, is there going to be enough activity on the main net to keep miners mining? Or is it now miners are just, there's no point of mining?
Yeah, but with, yeah, exactly. Who knows? It's already not really that profitable to mine anymore.
Yeah, and if electricity keeps going up and I don't know, it just doesn't. I mean, it's been phenomenal for 16 years, but we're at that point now where there's going to be such a demand for energy with AI. You're already seeing it, that there's a lack of energy. We need to either fix the grid, do something to power all this new AI. I just can't see them saying, oh yeah, this Bitcoin network, the most powerful network in the world, is just wasting all this power. We can now train every single one of these decentralized AI models on the Bitcoin network. Like that would be actual useful UPOW, which is useful proof of work, which is what Qubic is.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of having wasteful energy going nowhere, maybe just some thermal mining or some, electricity. Well, now you use that to train AI models with. And that to me makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, for me, AI and the network of AI that we're going to be utilizing, that's the next big step that we're going to be pushing towards. Because in my opinion, that's really like what Web3 and everything is going to be designed for, is to be able to function simultaneously with AI on some sort of AI driven network. And so that is theoretically, in my eyes, like blockchain is just kind of an integral part of what's going to make AI whole when we're talking about being able to transact value, being able to share data, doing everything. It's all going to be on blockchain. But now we're going to have AI being able to learn, being able to grow, being able to do, like, we don't even know what that's the beauty of AI. It's almost like we're creating these supercomputers, or like a calculator, I guess. And we're just going to be figuring out completely new information through utilizing this stuff that we've never even had before. So the idea, like what it unlocks by being able to pursue this, is it's crazy, because there's all kinds of like infinite possibilities. We don't know how it impacts the current cryptos, whether they're going to be able to adapt and grow with it. We don't know like what that all entitles, but honestly, the amount of growth that's going to be, like, people always talk about like there's not going to be any jobs and where AI is going to take everything. It's really not. AI is going to automate a lot of things, yes, but it's going to automate the things that were already like it's good to automate them, like places where people don't need to be working anyways because it's stupid for them to. It'll automate those places. It'll automate coding. It'll automate a number of these sort of things that we shouldn't be doing anymore. And then when that happens, I think that the amount of growth that takes place with just like new industries, infrastructure, like I stated, I think that uranium is going to play a focal point in powering AI and being like the next renewable energy that people flock to. And when that happens, you're talking an entire new industry worth billions and billions of dollars that's going to rise out of that is going to open up new jobs. It's going to open up all kinds of emerging technologies and all that stuff. So you can't get in the idea that it's going to get worse, because what's going to happen is there's going to be new technologies and markets and industries that spawn out of all of this. So really, we have the perfect opportunity. I'm looking at crypto as getting fairly close to the end of its hype phase. And then when that happens, I'm looking at the next stuff in line that I can kind of invest in, because there's so many other emerging technologies out there that you're silly to focus in on one thing, because it's just going to be constant growth over the next decade of us being able to invest into these type of things. So I think that's really where the value lies, is, kind of spreading out and looking into what's really going to be powering all of this stuff at the kind of like the ground floor, I guess you could say.
Yeah, bro, definitely. It's going to be exciting. We're at the right place at the right time. And all 276 of you watching, if you're not following Donovan, follow him over on Twitter, follow him on YouTube. He's always putting out good TA videos. And yeah, bro, appreciate you coming on. I think it's a good spot to wrap it up here. Definitely some really good stuff. And yeah, bro, any last words?
No, I appreciate the time. Thank you for having me on. We'll keep doing this. This is good to talk about certain things and, you know, dive into different thoughts and stuff that normally I don't talk about just on my YouTube channel. So I appreciate you having me on. Like I said, we'll keep talking and we'll keep doing these because I'd like to be able to make this a consistent thing that I even put on my channel so that we can, you know, just get as many new people watching as we can, because I think our perspectives are a lot more unique than most people in the market. And between the both of us, you know, there's going to be a lot of value shared. And that's, to me, the most exciting part is being able to share value, help you guys make sure that you're making profit. You know, we've been through some cycles. This is my third cycle, so I've made a million mistakes. I'm always making mistakes, but, you know, the fact that we're able to learn from that and move forward, I'm really excited to be able to trade this cycle with everybody. So I appreciate you having me on. I'm looking forward to keeping this going.
Yeah, bro. Me too. Thanks for coming on. And I think, yeah, it was great. We got a good flow, and yeah, we both are doing our own stuff, and it's impossible for one person to be able to do everything in crypto. There's so much going on. You really got to focus on the few things that you really like, or you're just like a chicken with your head cut off. Like there's so much going on. So to always say your network is your net worth. You surround yourself with the right people that you trust. You know, you can go to them to get the TLDR. What do I need to know over here? And that way, instead of having to go double check and verify and make sure they're not lying to you, like you just know it's consistent, it's right. They're not, you know, screwing with you. And it just makes everything so much easier. And that way you can pass it on, and we all just win that way. But it's best for everybody.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Yeah. So awesome, man. Well, it was an awesome conversation. Yeah. Well, we should definitely set this up for maybe Saturday, Sunday nights or something every week or two. We'll get on here and chop it up. And I think, yeah, we get this going on your channel, or 270 people in here now. So I think we can definitely get 1,000 people in here and start really reaching more people.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Well, let's do it.
Yeah, yes. Awesome, fam. We'll smash that like button, guys, and we will see you on the next one.
At Vibra Finance, we seek out the hidden gems in cryptocurrency. We will tailor your portfolio to work for you. Are you ready to transition your investments from traditional markets to cryptocurrency? Are your coins staked and earning interest? Are you overwhelmed with all the jargon in crypto? Is your portfolio underperforming and you want to reposition into consistent winning blue chip coins and viable projects? Do you feel like you missed out on DeFi, Metaverse, and NFTs? Here at Vibra Finance, we provide you with the data, skills, and tools you need to stay on top of the digital asset market. Vibra Finance, we are the future of crypto.